Those holiday warm fuzzies we get from gathering with loved ones or lending a hand can last all year long when you choose joy and help empower struggling families in the U.S. and around the world this season. Learn more at worldvision.org.
Ten, 9, 8. Ignition sequence has started. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You have entered Untold Radio AM. And now broadcasting from a secret location, your hosts, Joel Sturgis and Doug Hychek. Live. And welcome to this edition of Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Doug Hychek. Doug, how are you doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Going to Vegas, 1 week from today?
Yeah, that's what I hear.
So
are you excited?
No, because they have the mask mandate down there. So I'm going from a place where we don't have it to a place where we do.
I am going to be enjoying my time without a mask. I'll be working, and I'm okay with that. I like,
So I mean,
I don't want to take time off.
It'll be cool going, being at the convention. But you talk about a bummer, having to talk to people with a mask on.
Yeah, that would not be cool.
Drinking in Vegas with a mask on.
Yeah.
Vegas. And apparently they're really strict on it. So you pretty much pull your mask down, take a bite, and put it back on.
That's what I heard. It's very buttoned up.
A friend of mine just got back from there. He said it was bad.
Yeah. Well, God bless you, but hopefully whoever's the people that are putting this on can make a go of it. So it's a tough climate right now for business. Let me tell you, especially entertainment business. Tough.
Well, you would think of all the towns that would not be doing the mask mandate, it would be Vegas.
You would think, you would think, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So,
well, whatever.
So we got a great guest on tap tonight. We have Dr. Bob Gross.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about UFOs and anomalous, there we go, phenomena. I hate bifocals, by the way. I'm going to tell everybody right now I have bifocals, and I've had them for quite a while now. I'm still getting used to those darn things.
Do you get dizzy?
Well, sometimes, but what happens is I'll be reading something, I'll tilt my head just right, and I'll go into the bifocal range. So whatever I just read, right, because it's for close-up reading, the bifocals, is gone. It just becomes a blur. So I'll be in the middle of a sentence, I'll just like what happened now, and I'll tilt my head, and I can no longer read that sentence because it's fuzzy. And so, yes, bifocals suck. Doug, I know you do not wear glasses, so you're lucky, but glasses suck.
I kind of do. I mean, let's put it this way. I am supposed to.
Yeah.
But I don't, I don't have to wear them.
Sure. No, I get that. I definitely get that. I mean, anybody in your early 60s, I mean, you're a young man yet.
I've always had good eyes.
Yeah. It's all the carrots you eat.
Yeah. So, I wished I did.
So what's new with you? Come on, man.
I've been doing a lot of book covers.
Yeah.
I just got done with Beasts of the World. Just got done with a book for Matt Billet. Remember we had Matt on?
Mm-hmm.
And his book is called of books and beasts. And it's kind of basically a book review list of endless amounts of cryptozoology books.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get this book and it'll tell you what books you need to buy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of
So it's a book to tell you to buy books.
Yes. Exactly.
Gotcha. Well, that's very meta.
So I've been just trying to wind up, all my loose ends, take a week off and
Yeah.
not have to, excuse me, not have to work in Vegas.
Yeah. There you go.
Other-
Yeah, we can just enjoy. How long you can be in Vegas? A week?
Yeah, I think Wednesday to Sunday.
Yeah, there you go. That's a long time.
Yeah, it's 4 days, 5 days.
Yeah, that's enough to have a good time.
And my son Blaine is joining me, so that'll be kind of fun.
There you go.
This is me and Blaine's second trip to Vegas.
Okay.
And last time we went down there to hang out with Wes Germer from Sasquatch Chronicles.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's a good show, by the way. Wes puts on a heck of a show over there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really just into, listening to witnesses back to back, it's like there's no better.
Yeah. He does all the first-hand reporting of that kind of stuff with the witnesses. So it's a good time listening to that show. So, are you excited now for Christmas? I mean, come on, that's this month. It's already December 1st.
I'm just wiped out. That's the other thing I've been doing in my spare time. Take a break, Christmas shop online, trying to hope you can get it, before Christmas.
Yep.
And I've got 6 kids, so I keep getting these little add-ons. Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
Could I get this from Santa? You go look it up. It's like some $78 piece of makeup.
Yeah. Well, how old is your youngest?
17.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So that's the fun age. I hear all my kids are little yet, so they're easy.
Yeah, they don't put in requests for Sephora anti-aging cream.
Why would I'm assuming it's a 17-year-old asking for this.
Oh my God, it's easy. Yeah, it's my younger.
Why would a 17-year-old child need anti-aging cream?
I suppose because they're used to looking at everything on Instagram and they think.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
There can never be any lines on your face, even though everybody's using filters.
Oh yeah.
To blur all that.
Such a pressure to look good all the time.
So they worry about aging at age 20.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I was not thinking about aging at age 20. Let me tell you.
That was a lens thing.
Yeah. I had 3 things on my mind: beer, cars, and girls.
Yeah.
At age 20. That was really it, and not necessarily in that order.
And the first 2 don't count.
Right. That was all that was on my mind at that time. Just have a job to be able to afford the beer, the cars, and the girls.
Yeah, speaking of like afford beer and food and oh my God, it's like it's killing me what food is right now. I'm like,
oh, so expensive.
And food deliveries are like $40 for some fast food or
every time you go out, I know if I go and if I decide that I'm going to swing in to even McDonald's after work, and I'm sure everyone listening can really kind of go, oh my God, with us, can relate is okay, I'll swing in McDonald's, and I got 3 kids plus my loving wife and myself. That's $50 bill gone easy.
Oh yeah,
easy.
Yeah, even at McDonald's, it's not.
Yeah, even at McDonald's, it's just gone.
Back about 2009, you could sit at a 5-star restaurant and have dinner for 2.
Yeah, for $50.
Yeah, now it's fast food.
Yeah, right. And one thing I noticed though, Doug, and it was just kind of dawned on me lately, is it's starting to emerge all the small businesses that aren't coming back.
No, I know.
Or even in my area, because we used to have all sorts of these nice little mom and pop restaurants, quick little diners, the greasy spoon kind of thing, a little hole in the wall. they're all gone. The only thing left are the big chains.
The other thing, the big chains aren't even open. I'm not going to say the name of the chain.
Yeah.
But a big chain, you go to the drive-through, prime time, supper time, and there's a sign, closed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's 6 o'clock, supper time, and you are a big chain, and you don't have enough. Obviously, it's not enough workers.
That's what it is, because I know I was speaking, my job takes me all, I get to talk to all sorts of people. And one of the people I talked to this week was a manager of one of those big chain fast food joints.
Yeah, well.
And that's what I said, well, when's your dining room going to open? And she said, when we get workers. And I mean, and they have them on the marquee, Doug. $14, $15, $16 an hour.
I know, it's crazy. We've had jobs
to work at
like
these
I've
places.
mentioned, we've had jobs posted for $50 per hour.
Yeah.
And you don't even get anybody to apply.
No one even applies.
No, that's like, or if they do apply, they don't show. They pull a note.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it's bad.
They'll throw their resume in, you'll reach out, and you'll never hear from them.
Or you pick somebody for a job and they don't show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
is really sad.
It's going to come back and haunt all these people.
Oh, sure it will. When they need a job and they've been neglecting to go into the job market, and now they do need that job, it's not going to be there.
Yeah, whatever resources they have, whether it's savings or government dole, it's going to run out.
Oh, yeah, eventually. It will. But yeah, it's really sad state of affairs. What really makes me sad, though, is, one of these outfits, this restaurant was in business for almost a century.
Yeah.
And they closed.
That's sad.
And they weathered World War II. They weathered, all these different things. And this is what takes them down. It really is sad.
Yep. Oh, well, back to something a little more cheerful. Remember we were doing the term of the week?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of Claire? No, I don't know quite how to pronounce it. Clairaudience.
Clair audio?
Clairavoyance, right?
Yep.
So if you're clairvoyant, you're psychic or whatever. You can read people's minds. This is called clairaudience. Have you ever heard of it?
Yep. I have.
Oh.
I have heard of it.
I've never heard of it. But what it is the power or faculty of hearing something that's not present.
Yeah. Like some psychics claim to be clairaudient. Meaning they hear the ghosts, but they don't see them.
Okay. Well, so the word of the week is clairaudience.
Clairaudience. Very cool.
Or to hear something that's not present, but the ear tells you it's there.
Yep.
It's real. And I did have that happen to me one time. I heard somebody talking in the back seat that, I was just talking to myself there, thinking deep about something many, many, many years ago. And I remember I went under the Hennepin Avenue Bridge, and right when it got under the bridge, I heard a man in the voice say, "Someday you'll understand." And I whipped my neck around, because I'm like freaked out thinking there's somebody sitting there. There's somebody there.
Wow. Huh.
It's only happened once, and that's
crazy.
it. One time.
That is crazy.
So I guess for one moment I was
psychic.
Clairaudient.
Clairaudient, yeah.
Clairaudient. Well, it says here clairaudience.
Yeah.
And so if you're a clairaudient, if you put a T on it, then you're somebody that it can make it happen, or it happens too frequently.
Exactly. That's cool, though. That is cool. So, Doug.
Yeah?
What's the craziest, strangest Christmas gift you ever had?
Oh, I don't think I ever got anything strange. It's probably some wall decoration. You're like, oh my God, that's freaking ugly.
So when someone gives you a gift like it's weird or that you don't like, do you have a good poker face? Can you be like, oh, this is great, and lie to them, or do you just tell them right away this sucks?
I do, but kids nowadays don't. They're just like, oh, I already have this, or
yeah, I already got that. What do I need that
this is
for?
the wrong size, or they're really they just blurt it out.
Yep. That's why a lot of people, I hear more and more of this at work, and I talk to them. They're giving me money because I said, "Well, I gotta go shopping for if they have older children, gotta go shopping for the kids." No, I'm just gonna give them cash.
Yeah, well,
that's it. They can get their own stuff.
Not very fun, but
not very much fun. But I suppose there's a certain point where we're just sick of hearing about it. So yeah, you just want to get them something. But I just wanted to ask you that because that is happening more and more. I was reading an article today that gift giving has become a lost art. Remember back in the day, you'd think long and hard. Now it's cash, Amazon gift cards, stuff like that. So gift giving is on the decline.
Yeah.
So even if you do get that strange gift that you might not necessarily like, at least the person thought enough to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it can be tough, but like this year, I knew exactly what to get my son. And yeah, I'll give him a little cash too, but I knew, because he bought a new Tesla.
That's what you saying last week.
Got him some Tesla stuff.
There you go.
Got him a Tesla hat, a Tesla coffee mug, and a sign for his charging station, and yeah, just some fun stuff.
So hold on. Now, when he bought the Tesla, though, he had to buy all the charging stuff, didn't he?
Yeah.
For the house.
For his garage, yeah. I never did ask him what that cost.
I was going to say, I wonder if that came the vehicle cost or if that was all extra.
Oh, I'm sure it was extra, and I'm sure it was at least $1,000 because then you got to install it.
Yeah. Wow, man. Teslas. Yeah, that might
Not
be the way
me.
of the future. No, I'm good. I'll stick a gas. I'll stick a good old petro.
But, it's like, okay, like in England, they just passed a law, which is now law.
Yeah.
No more combustion engines after 2035. And I'm like, can be sold. And I'm not even sure they can be on the road after that. I'm not sure people can research that. But certainly in motorcycles, which we think would be the last thing they would be addressing since they use about, a quarter of the gas a car would. But whatever's going on in Europe, and guarantees coming here.
Oh, you know it. It's going to start in California. It's going to work its way across. That's how it works.
Yeah, first it goes from like England and then Europe. And then it hits California. And then the rest of the, the Midwest.
That's exactly how it works.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Hey, police arrest everyone on February 22nd. Headline.
Yeah, I'm not following.
Police arrest everyone on February 22nd.
Yeah.
That's the actual headline.
Yeah, and explain.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't need any more. Get it? It's
what?
The potpourri. It's just the headlines.
Okay, it went right
Remember we were doing that?
Yeah, I know, but that one went right over my head.
No, okay. Breathing oxygen linked to staying alive.
Not only was it not funny, I didn't even get it.
Don't worry, you don't have to.
So the only thing funny about that joke was me not getting it.
Well, that would be about it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Here's a headline that just happened yesterday. Federal agents raid gun shop, find weapons.
Yeah, these are pretty bad. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
How about some real ones? I was reading, and there was a guy in Nigeria. This really happened. He was trying to sell himself for 20 million naira, which is like 49 grand, 40,000 US. And they arrested him.
Why?
I don't. Well, because it's illegal to try to sell yourself.
I suppose. Apparently.
But I'm like,
I suppose.
But I'm reading this going, I don't even get it.
Yeah.
What you sell yourself for what?
What would he? Yeah, that does make no sense. I mean, I've heard of others trying to sell, like one person was trying to sell their grandmother on eBay.
Yeah.
I remember that, and eBay put a stop to that. Saying, hey, we can't sell people here.
Yeah,
That's just not how that works.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
You know.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So, that is straight. Yeah, you're right, though. How the heck, what would that entail if there was a taker?
I don't know. I guess you'd be a slave. I don't know. I'm not sure what they got him on. It just said they arrested him.
Huh. That is strange.
Yeah.
That is strange.
It's kind of like, I just heard there was somebody had smuggled a bootlegged movie into North Korea, and they're like, they're going to execute him. And I'm like, oh my God.
Wow, they're going to execute him over a bootlegged movie?
Yep.
Dang.
Sad.
Man. Wow. That poor guy. Watch, it was probably a bad movie on top of it.
Well, it was a bootleg copy.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been.
Yeah, but really, murder. I mean, they'll kill you for anything in that country, though.
Yep.
You look at someone strange. That's it. Time to die.
And then you go up to International Falls, and in the news was they had a big city council meeting, and they voted late in October to stop dressing the 26-foot tall Smokey the Bear.
They're gonna stop dressing them.
This was their big, their big meeting.
It made the city council.
Yeah, they had a special meeting about it.
Why would they?
Well, they would dress them in seasonal attire.
Gotcha. It wasn't just one outfit that they had. It was seasonal attire. And I suppose they're doing it because of the expense.
Yeah, well, they were going to put a 25-foot scarf on them for the winter months. And
that's just cute, though. They should do that.
They voted nope, not doing it. No more. Man, Smokey.
When's the last time you were in International Falls?
It's been a couple years.
I haven't been up there in forever.
I always remember the stink.
Yeah, the paper mill, yeah.
Paper mills, yep.
Mm-hmm.
That horrible border crossing they have there, which is like this tangled mess of, you go over the bridge and you're kind of, there's all these roads and railroad tracks, and you don't even know what lane to be in.
Right. And you enter Port Francis, yeah.
And that particular border crossing, I wouldn't say they're that friendly.
I've heard that. I haven't crossed there, in many years, because I haven't had to go to Canada. Not that there's anything wrong with Canada. In fact, I quite like the Canadians.
They're friendly coming back. Yeah. It's getting into Canada. Just like, man, the left.
So you're saying it's the Canadians. Because isn't it one side Canadians, the other side Americans, right?
Yeah, it was a Canadian going into Canada.
Yeah, so you're going into Canada, so you have to get through the Canadian checkpoint, and they're not necessarily wanting you to, they're kind of...
I don't know.
I have heard that. I have definitely heard that in the past, and I can't say... The last time I was up there was, it's got to be 10 years ago. I went up there fishing. And I can't remember. Yeah, they were kind of... They were kind of gruff with us crossing the border. You know, they're no nonsense, is what they were.
It's never, yes, exactly. Far more, you come across into the U.S. and they're like, where you been? What'd you do? You went fishing? Oh, yeah. How many days you got? Blah, blah, blah. Hey, did you have fun? Yeah, great. And you come back.
Yeah.
Man, you go to Canada and they're not friendly.
See, again, I like Canada.
No, I love Canada.
But the people, once you're in there, are great. I mean, very friendly people. But you're right, it's that darn border crossing. And then at one time, I was up in the Lake of the Woods. I did a border crossing. And we crossed. And it was one lone phone booth. And you'd have to pick up this phone booth and talk to somebody on the other end and give them your credentials.
Yeah.
And then you got to the country.
Well, the worst border. I've had two really bad ones, but there was one I was up on. I think it was with Ron Shera, and we were probably flying in August. It's 98 degrees out. We land, in International Falls, and you got to stay in the plane.
Yeah.
Until a custom agent comes to the plane. They made us sit in that hot plane with the engine off and the windows closed for, I don't know, must have been an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Wow.
And I'm like, God, this is just, it's bad. It was, you get 4 guys on a Cessna on a hot day with the windows closed and the engine off.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Yeah. So where were you flying? I suppose you're flying into Canada to film.
Fishing. You go up there and film and fish.
Yep. And so they made you sit on the plane. They won't let you come off the plane. And it always made me wonder, when people are flying like to Alaska, do they have to stop in Canada?
Yeah, they've got to stop. They can't proceed.
Really? So you can't fly over Canada, even though it's a nonstop flight? Because I suppose you're going over their airspace.
I don't think so. I don't really know. I just know what I've done.
Yeah.
I've flown up to Sioux Lookout numerous times, and you always have to stop in Thunder Bay.
Okay. Well,
and we've had things like they make you dump all your tackle boxes out on the
just right on the ground. Boom, there it is.
And then they start accusing you of bringing lures into sell and you're like, oh my God, are you kidding?
Wow.
These are rubber jigs or rubber twister tails.
Yeah, the old Mr. Twisters.
One walleye, then they're
yeah, I remember the Mr. Twisters.
Mm-hmm.
And they put the lead heads on them, and that whole thing. They were accusing you guys of wanting to sell lures in Canada illegally.
Yep, have that happen too. And you sit there and you just put up with it. You just
smile, and
it's like, really, we're coming up here to spend money.
Yeah. That's just it. That's just it. Strange. I know the Canadians that I encounter down where I am, because I'm about an hour and a half from the border, are some of the nicest people you're going to meet. My gosh, they're just super nice. They're just having a good time in America, doing stuff, going to different stores, because evidently they come here to shop is what they do.
Yeah.
And so we get a lot of that, in this area. And so, they're here and they're spending money. They're spending a lot of money. So the businesses and the local government really tries to welcome them.
Yeah, it's that can be tough. Just it's not something you ever look forward to. And I can only imagine now with COVID, probably not the greatest time.
Yeah, I know for a long time the borders were closed, and I would imagine COVID has definitely complicated things on that front. But, hopefully things get better. And while we got the new things going on here that's supposed to kill us all off anyway. So, like a meteor coming. Did you hear NASA's going to try to hit a meteor? I mean, it's not in our way or anything. It's no threat. But they're actually going to launch a projectile from Earth to hit a meteor to see if they can knock it off its flight path.
Well, I think they should.
I mean, that's cool.
Because that's probably, certainly there's a chance every day we're going to spot an object.
Yep.
It's going to be sailing our way, and it's going to be on a collision course, and we're maybe only going to have a day, to react to it, because apparently these objects are hard to spot.
Yeah. You heard the same story, I'm sure, then.
No.
Where they're going to be sending something up there. I think it's a satellite that they're going to use.
But I mean,
something
they've been
to try to
but they've
shoot it out of the way.
This forever.
Oh, they have been. They even made a movie about it, Armageddon.
Yeah. Yep.
Except they sent a drill team up there to, do their thing.
Yeah, to drill in and plant.
Which never made any sense to me. Watching the movie.
There's a lot of things that don't make sense to you.
That is true.
Oh my God. What time is it? 7:29. Okay. So one of the weirdest things I read, and I was just shocked by it. Speaking of technology, the U.S. Navy said that they smacked into a underwater mountain, near China. It was a nuclear submarine with a nuclear reactor on it. And I'm like, dudes, Don't you have radar or something?
Yeah, don't you guys have technology to stop you from doing that?
Exactly. It just really, I'm thinking, it's kind of like those stories we heard about a guy, with an ocean liner that takes a bridge out. And I'm thinking,
bundling home and car insurance with Geico is so easy, your neighbors are probably already doing it. But who? They may drop little hints like,
beautiful day out. Even more beautiful since we saved by bundling our home and car insurance with Geico.
Or,
yard work is hard. Much harder than bundling with Geico, which was easy.
Or it may be even subtler, like,
speaking of burgers, we bundled our home and car insurance with Geico and saved a bunch of money.
Bundling is easy with Geico. Just ask your neighbors.
This is Peacock. I love it! It's streaming your favorite shows, movies, live sports, breaking news, exclusive originals. It's The Office.
That's what she said.
Chrisley Knows Best.
It's gonna be Todd's Way or the Highway.
And Peacock original shows like Punky Brewster.
Holy macanoli.
So whether you're in the mood for every live WWE pay-per-view or every episode of Law & Order SVU, Peacock's got you covered. Peacock. Watch for free, upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com.
There's really no excuse.
And that bridge has been there forever. And the mountain's been there forever.
I realize there's no brakes on these things.
Yeah.
But, we have eyes. You would think they would have just the best of the best LiDAR technology and sonar, and they would know that mountain was there months. But their excuse was some professor came forward and said, a professor of geophysics goes, well, but less than half of the ocean floor is mapped.
Oh, boy, that old song and dance.
Into something. I'm thinking, oh, my God, they ran into a mountain.
Right, a mountain. A mountain!
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was
crazy.
The USS Connecticut.
That's nuts.
It was in the South China Sea.
You'd hope that they'd have better radar than that. All right, we got to get out of here. When we come back, we got Dr. Bob Gross joining us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. Set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer, throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Doug Hychek. Doug, here we are. We made it to the other side of the break.
Yeah, and then just long enough.
Yeah, you sound excited there. I can hear your voice.
I am.
Yeah. You sound very excited, as you should be. You should be excited.
Why? Because I'm going to Vegas next week?
Well, rub it in a little bit more. Some of us have to work for a living. Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, I'm not excited.
That's what everybody says. But anyhow, we got a great guest on tap tonight. We have Dr. Bob Gross joining us tonight. A little bit about Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob Gross is a skilled research scientist who researches UFOs and other anomalous phenomena. He is also a musician, an educator, and Dr. Gross specializes in animalistic. Gosh, get that one on my mouth.
That's
Animalistics.
No, it's not animal. Anomalist.
Anomalist. There we go. Oh my gosh. Yep. Using the scientific method to evaluate anomalies. Got that one right. Anomaly. Anomaly. Sorry. He is the author of a blog entitled In Pursuit of Anomalies. He has an amazing UAP encounter in 1989 that certainly changed his reality. There is much, much more to come in this next hour and a half about Dr. Bob Gross. You're going to want to sit in and just enjoy this discussion with one of the best researchers around. Thank you for coming on the show, Dr. Bob Gross.
Thank you, Joel. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure having you.
Why don't we?
It's gonna be fun.
Why don't we dive right in, Bob, and tell us about your 1989 encounter with, all the cool details.
Okay. And thanks for having me, Doug. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I'll try to put it in much of a story form as I can. And back in 1989, I was living in Pennsylvania. And I was living at the base of a ski resort in a little town called Newry, Pennsylvania. And that was at the base of the Blue Knob Ski Resort. And my background has been in music and the arts and so forth. So in that year, that was like 1989.
Gotcha.
I think we lost Bob.
Already? My gosh. Let's see. Did we lose him?
We've been on a roll lately, Joe.
We have been on a roll. Dr. Bob, are you here with us? Tap 3 times as you've been abducted. Here, let me try to get him back in here. Such is the cell phone technology. Gotta love it. Let's do this.
And you were worried about using...
I was worried about Skype, but evidently, yeah.
You jinxed it. You jinxed it.
I must have jinxed it.
You said...
I did say.
We'll have perfect uninterrupted... there we go.
There we go. Dr. Bob, you are back. We got dropped somehow along the way. I'm not sure how that was. But you were in the middle of telling us your encounter in 1989, and you're telling us when you dropped, you're telling us where you're living at the time.
Yes, I was living at the base of a ski resort called Blue Knob Ski Resort in Pennsylvania, and I was also the the performing arts chair for an arts festival in Blair County, Pennsylvania. So it was my job to audition bands and act so forth for the performing arts festival that they held every year. So this one night, it was in June, and it was getting...
Again, it dropped. Let us try one more time. If not, we're going to have to try alternate means. Maybe a smoke signal, Doug.
You double jinxed it.
I must have.
Oh, when
Maybe
you
he's
said
hanging
that,
up on
when
us.
you said that,
Oh, I
we're
know.
gonna avoid using Skype.
Hello?
There we go.
Hello there. We must have been dropped again, but here we are. We're hooking it back up. If that happens one more time,
maybe you can move, Bob. Maybe you're getting a bad signal.
Yeah, it's never really happened before. Let's see, I can...
Well, we should
try
use the
moving.
excuse they always use on some other shows and say the government doesn't want you to tell your story.
Exactly. They don't want us to know.
Yeah, well, that could be it too. But sometimes I know they've been having some difficulty with the towers. They said with the with the phones. So I don't know what's going on here. Never really had it happen before.
So now it just pick it up right. You said it was that night and you were doing something.
Right. And I was getting ready to go up to audition a band for this upcoming arts festival. And a friend of mine who lived in the housing development I lived in, we were both going to drive up. I was going to audition this band in Ebensburg, Pennsylvania, and then we were going to come back. So we left. It was, I'd say probably around 11 o'clock in the evening. We drove up to this little club in Ebensburg, Pennsylvania, went in.
It happened again.
It happened again. Oh my good Lord.
You sure we can't hook them up on Skype, huh?
You know, maybe we should try doing that. I mean, we will. You know what? Let me run a break, and we'll do this. We'll regroup. We'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere because we're gonna get this figured out in short order. We're back.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
All right, we are back, everybody, and we're going to be we're going to be free-forming it for a minute, aren't we, Doug?
Yeah, we're having technical problems with our connection with Bob.
And I so jinxed it. I just know I did. Now that you mention it, I think I jinxed it. I think you're right. I really do. I think that you're right. I think I jinxed it earlier today.
You should never do anything that tempts Murphy. Because he'll come and he'll sit on your lap.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. He will. He will come sit right on your lap and make things a little bit hard. That's all. That's all. So let's see if we can't add Dr. Bob Gross in another way here. So we're gonna do that here, but other than that, I think it's gonna be a great story.
Look, we're not having that bad of a day. There was a 30-year-old guy who was fishing in Brazil with his two kids, right? And this just happened like a week ago. So they got attacked by killer bees, swarm of bees surround them. They jump into the lake to escape these killer bees. 2 of them swim to safety. But the 30-year-old guy who'd asked these 2 friends to go fishing gets attacked by piranhas.
No way.
It's torn apart by piranhas.
Oh, man.
4 meters from shore. So that's a bad day.
That is a bad day.
We're not having a bad day.
No, we're not having a bad day. Let's see if we can get him added in now. We're going to try a Skype now. And we're going to see if that doesn't come through just fine. So, but yes, that would constitute a bad day. Horrible day.
Everyone wants a good health plan. UCare offers a variety of affordable plans for individuals and families at some of the lowest costs in the state. It's no wonder they're the #1 plan on MNsure the last 5 years. See if you qualify for a subsidy today at mnsure.org.
Or there's what's even worse is there's a Tiger King 2 now, I guess. So that makes my day even worse.
Yes.
Hello.
Hey, there we go. Hey, Dr. Bob.
Hello again.
Perfect. Here we go. Let's rock and or roll. So
all I do is chuck into the microphone then, correct?
That's it. That's all you got to do. Just talk to the microphone. You got this. You got her. Yep, you're sounding good on top of it. So,
alrighty.
When we left our audience last, you were telling us, let's back up to where you were living at the time, and then we'll move on because it got really choppy.
All right, I'm sorry about that. But
no worries.
Back in, this would have been on June 23rd, 1989, I was living in a housing development at the base of the Blue Knob Ski Resort in Newry, Pennsylvania. And I was going to go up to audition a band that was playing in a little roadhouse in a place called Ebensburg, Pennsylvania. And my neighbor who lived next door to me in the housing development, we were both going to drive up. At that time, I had a car known as a Scirocco. It was a Volkswagen Scirocco, and it had, a moon roof and a stereo system and all that type of thing. So we left, I think it was around 11 o'clock p.m. We drove up to the little club. Mm-hmm. We found a parking place. We went in. I listened to the band. We both listened to the band. And I negotiated a contract, because the band was a pretty decent band, negotiated a contract for the arts festival. So then we left. And it was about 12:30 a.m. on June 24th in 1989, and we were leaving this little roadhouse. And we were traveling down Route 22, which is a 4-lane highway that had the guardrails on each side. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a very mountainous highway. And we're driving down this highway. We're heading back home to the housing development. And I'm talking to her, and she's sitting in the passenger seat, and I'm talking to her about the band and so forth. And I happen to look out of her window, of her passenger side window, the front window. And I'm noticing ahead, about, I'd say 30, 35 yards ahead, there's something that's lying on the ground behind the guardrail. And it's black and it's moving. So I keep trying to talk with her, and I'm trying to keep one eye on what's moving behind this guardrail and another eye on the road. So as we start getting closer to the guardrail, all of a sudden I notice whatever's at the bottom of this tree. It's behind the guardrail. It's starting to move, and it starts hovering up. And it starts coming up from behind the guardrail while I'm driving. And it looks at first like a great big bird. And at first it was black in color. And then as it moved higher up, it started changing color. It changed color to a dark gray. And from that point, it changed to like a urban camouflage color, black and white and gray. And as it got higher up underneath the leaves and underneath the branches of the tree where it was, it started to turn a solid color like a gray or an off-white. And what started going through my mind is at first I thought this was a big bird. And I started thinking, I'm looking at it, and I said, wait a minute, this big bird, it's flying in the air, but it's not flapping its wings. Why isn't this bird flapping its wings? And then I thought, maybe it was like a snowy owl or something. And then I started thinking, why is a snowy owl? What's out this time of night? What's it doing in this part of the country? So all of a sudden, I noticed this object that was out there. It started out floating out closer to the road near where I was driving. And it changed now from like an off-white to a gray to a white. So I was seeing it getting closer to Route 22. It was ahead of me, and I put my high beams on. And right after I put my high beams on, the object started glowing. It started glowing a fluorescent green color, like the color of a watch dial, of a wristwatch dial. So all of a sudden, this thing now is turning, and it's looking like it's glowing. And it doesn't look like a bird anymore. It looks more like a big manta ray. So it starts coming out, and it banks, and it starts coming toward my car. And this time it's glowing this green color. And I noticed, I looked underneath, and there were no feet, there was no beak, there were no, openings underneath, there were no things that were separating its wings from its body or whatever. And it looked like it was a translucent type of a skin color, but it was glowing green. And then all of a sudden, it banked. And it banked and headed right for my car. And of course, the moonroof was open because it was a pretty nice night. And it dive bombed my car, and the whole inside of the car turned green, the same color green as it was glowing. And I'd say it was only about 6 inches above the top of my car at that time.
Jeez.
Wow.
And then, when it's dive bombed my car, it almost hit the road, the other side of the road. It almost hit the road, but it shot up suddenly and just took off in the sky. And it left, like, you know how you've seen like these army movies where they have tracer bullets? It looked like it left a tracer bullet, a fluorescent green tracer bullet trace in the sky. And it was moving at hundreds of miles an hour.
Wow.
And so this thing was, it was huge. It was about, I'd say from its tip to its tail was probably 5 feet long, and its wingspan was probably about 12 feet. Now, again, it wasn't flapping its wings. It was flying really fast and so forth. And the whole thing was happened. It took about 2 minutes for it to happen, the whole thing. And what the bad part was, we both looked at each other. And when we both looked at each other, we both started hyperventilating at the same time, instantaneously. So we both looked at each other, and we just started hyperventilating. And it got so bad that I got to the point where I couldn't control the car. So what I did was I pulled off the side of the road, and you could hear like the gravel underneath the road, popping up against the frame of the car. And I pulled the car over. I stopped the car. We both got out. I put my hands on my knees, and we both got our breath back together because we were both like hyperventilating really hard at the same time. And as soon as we got our breaths under control, I said, I've got to report this.
Yeah.
So we drove home. It took us about a half an hour to get home. We got back to the housing development. I went to my house. She went to her house. And I called. There was a hotline in Pennsylvania at that time. And I had been working as an investigator for a group known as the Pennsylvania Association for the Study of the Unexplained. So I called that hotline, and they told me, excuse me, what to do. So I did that. And then I got a call back from the hotline. And the person that was talking to me from the hotline said that it sounds like you might have gotten an overdose of radioactivity from what you explained about the glowing. And I said, okay. And they said, you should make an appointment, with the hospital to get tested to see if you have excess radiation in your body. So later on, I did that, and there wasn't any excess radiation in my body. But another unique thing about this whole thing, this happened in June, and then we had meetings at the Pennsylvania Association for the Study of the Explained. That group met every month, I think it was. So in the July meeting, they showed me a copy of a newsletter that they put out, and that same exact object was seen in May of 1989 in a place called Bolivar, Pennsylvania. And that same exact object was on the ground when these witnesses saw it. There were I think 2 or 3 witnesses that saw it, and it was glowing that same color, and everything around it was glowing that color as well.
So do you think this was a creature, for lack of a better word, or some biological type alien thing?
Well, at first I thought it was a creature. First I thought it was a great big bird, but then I noticed, wait a minute, it's not flapping its wings, it didn't have feathers, and then my mind was working on it, and its appearance was working on me, and I kept saying, well, this can't be a bird. And then when I saw it didn't have any rivets or any openings or anything like that underneath, and it looked like it was a type of a translucent skin color, or skin texture. At that time, I didn't know what it was, but later on, there in that part of Pennsylvania, it was near an area called the Chestnut Ridge part of Pennsylvania, and there was a lot of different kinds of sightings all the time in that area, and there were some studies that showed that back then they called them UFOs. UFOs of that type were spotted near coal tipples, and where the coal was being mined out of the mountains back in those areas, and it was a very mountainous area. So later on, after I did some research and so forth, I think it was if I would see that same object today, I would think it was some type of experimental drone. Because the same exact object then later on was seen in West Virginia in 2004, the same exact object, except it was gray in color, it was solid gray, and it dive bombed the car just like it dive bombed my car. And so that object was around for a while. But again, if I'd see that object today, I'd think it was more of an experimental drone.
So like a government
drone. Can you describe the wings more? Like what shape?
Yeah, they were almost like bat wings.
So here's where I'm going. There's been numerous reports, and in fact, I had something dive bomb my car that
really
never flapped its wings either, but it looked like one of these winged humanoid type creatures, but yet it never flapped its wings. I mean, it fell out of the sky without moving its wings. It dive bombed the car and took off without ever moving its wings. So it was like, I don't know, like some kind of hybrid type living creature with an apparatus on it, or who knows? But it wasn't your conventional nut and bolt.
No. I mean, and I had the same type of feeling that you had, because being an artist and a musician, when you go to really stimulating concerts or see really stimulating pieces of art, you get to something that's called an affective or an aesthetic reaction to that artwork because it's so unique. And that's what happened to me when we both started hyperventilating at the same time. That's a typical byproduct of it. Even there's a name for it when you start having an affective reaction like that, because your mind knows you're seeing something that's totally unexpected and deserves to be investigated. Yeah. And that's the feeling that I had. But what's even weirder, and I'll just jump ahead just a little bit, is that it would have been 2006. Now, I said that Someone saw it in 2004 in West Virginia, and what's odd is that I took a straight edge ruler and took a map, and from the time it was seen in May of 1989 in Bolivar, I took that and took it a point in Ebensburg where it was seen in June, and then I took it to where it was seen in West Virginia, and that was a straight edge that ran parallel to the Chestnut Ridge area in Pennsylvania. And I thought that was more than a coincidence. But then in 2006, I was at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. And this is really wild. I saw it was a cross between a rocket plane and a glider that NASA was going to use to survey Mars. And what was odd is that I saw a drawing of that glider there was a type of an area where they were working on it, and I saw a drawing there, and the original wing design looked exactly almost like what I saw in 1989.
Yeah. So, in your final conclusion, do you think it was a nut and bolt craft, or do you think it was living?
I don't think it was living, but it had characteristics that were almost humanoid, because the skin that it looked like a skin when it was up close, and it was glowing. Now, it didn't look like a human being, but it could have been like some kind of skin that you might see on a pterodactyl or something. But,
just what I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's today it still sticks with me, and that's the strongest aesthetic reaction I've ever had in my life.
Well, so, when you say it was glowing, Bob, it was glowing a green?
Yes. It like wasn't at first.
Like a chartreuse type?
Oh, well, it was almost the same green as, like, if you've ever seen a clock dial or a watch dial that glows in the dark. It was that kind of a green.
Get the perfect gifts for pets and pet lovers at Chewy. Save on presents for your pets, like food, toys, and treats. And for friends and family, we have e-gift cards to show how much you care. Shop e-gift cards and more. Visit Chewy.com today.
Hi, this is Jen Aniston. Thanks to your support, families never receive a bill from St. Jude for anything, because all a family should worry about is helping their child live.
Your child's sick, you're scared to death, but at St. Jude, all we had to worry about was taking care of our daughter.
Give thanks for the healthy kids in your life and give to those who are not. Donate now at stjude.org or give wherever you see the St. Jude logo.
And it actually, when it flew over top of the car, I had the moonroof open the whole way. the whole inside of the car turned that same green. And
wow.
Because I can remember I had a stereo system that I had in the car was called a Bauplunk stereo system, and it had like these green knobs on it.
Yep.
And when that whole cockpit filled up with that green color, you couldn't see the knobs because they were the same color as the light that was shining in.
Well, the biggest tell to me is the fact it dive bombed your car.
Yes.
That's not normal. I mean, that's more of a behavior of a predatory or something that was trying to scare you.
And it was waiting for me. It was waiting. You know, it was like I said, when I first saw it at the base of this tree, it was behind a guardrail and it was on the ground, and then it started coming up, and it waited till I got to a certain point, and then it dive bombed my car. It waited till I got almost right across from it.
Yeah.
Lane and wait.
Did the other people that saw it never dive bomb their car?
The couple that saw it in West Virginia in 2004, it did the exact same thing almost and dive bombed their car. They were on their way to an arts festival too, which I thought was kind of odd. But it dive bombed their car. And except it never turned green. It stayed that off-white, grayish, translucent color that I saw it earlier.
Have you ever talked to Lon Strickler?
Yes. In fact, that's where I read about the 2004 event. Near his place.
Gotcha.
So I told him about that.
Oh, okay.
And so I let him know that I have that kind of documentation. But I used his 2004 sighting as a document for one of my resources that showed that it was that exact same thing.
Well, obviously it wasn't a manned craft, right? So it wasn't a manned craft.
Yeah, I don't think so. It wasn't
some type of either a drone or a living creature.
Yeah,
yes.
One of the two.
I'd say drone because, man, when it took off after it dive bombed the car, it was going hundreds of miles an hour. And like I said, it was all it left was like a tracer going through the sky. And that was weird.
Some type of an alien drone.
Yeah,
it sounds like.
And there were, like I said, in Pennsylvania, I know there were a lot of events that happened that involved UFOs, and they were happening near these coal tipples, they called them, which, my thinking is they could have been using abandoned coal mines to do experiments in, and then they would just wheel these things out at night.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
Try them out.
I guess what I'm getting at is that wouldn't explain the attack.
No, unless somebody was playing a trick, Well,
the thing is, I often wonder too with my situation, this thing just dropped out of the sky and went right for our windshield.
Yeah.
As if it was trying to scare us.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or to get our attention, really get our attention.
And that was the exact same feeling that I had.
It also had bat-like skin where I knew it wasn't made of metal. But it never flapped its wings either. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. Now, where did yours happen?
It happened in northern Minnesota, south of Cloquet, near Moose Lake, I guess would be the closest town. Moose Lake, Minnesota.
There were just so many coincidental things that happened after that. And plus, that started me thinking, we have close encounters of the first kind, even, since I didn't have any radiation poisoning or whatever. Mm-hmm. But those humans that experienced that, I got the whole feeling that UFO encounters aren't anomalies. They're almost essential to humans, because what I noticed happening to me, and the same thing happened to my passenger, it really stimulated my mind to a whole different level of exercise.
Yeah,
sure, changed your life. is what you're saying.
Yes.
So can you explain a little more on this, expound a little bit more on this essential theory that you threw out there?
Okay. Now, yeah, I've been, my doctoral work was done at Penn State, and I did some research at Penn State. And when I was doing my doctoral work, I really got into research. I was a musician and a creative artist by nature. And I selected music as my medium of expression. But then I found out that I had to turn into a scientist practically out of need, because there were so many things I was concerned about. And one of the things I was really looking into when I was doing my doctoral work, one thing I was involved in, of course, was music, and I was involved in acoustics. I was also involved in aesthetics. And I was also involved, in other things as well, and I also was involved in research. So I was really very, very curious about how these kind of events affect human beings. That was the most thing. I wasn't concerned or afraid that it was going to abduct me or anything. That experience was enough for me to keep researching this whole concept. And throughout the years, I was just fortunate enough to make the right connections, to hook up with the right people that would start me researching that was actually, things that were connected to that incident. So I started looking into what's known as aesthetic experiences. And I started studying with aestheticians to learn how people react to aesthetic experiences. And that, they used to think that aesthetic experiences were only connected to the arts, the fine arts, and that was it. But then later on, I was finding out that aesthetic experiences were connected to non-arts things as well. And that's what really, I think this really started kicking in around 2013. Because I was, in 1992, I had taught for 25 years. And I was teaching at, the higher education level as well as in the public schools. And then in 1992, I started working for the government. And I was working on certain projects there. And I was doing research at Penn State, too, on certain things that were kind of unique because I enjoyed that research. But I started looking into the effects that these kind of experiences, like close encounters with UFOs, have on human beings. And I found out that some of the more recent research shows that those kind of experiences actually cause brain growth.
Oh, okay.
And that they are actually something positive that happens to human being, that can happen to human beings.
Okay. Gotcha. That's super interesting, and no doubt it does. I mean, it's because it makes you question everything.
Yes, that's it. That's it, exactly.
Like everything.
Yeah,
Nothing.
And
you suddenly become a non-sheep. You don't follow anybody. You don't follow anything. You don't believe what you're told.
Yes, and especially once you have that aesthetic experience, that feeling, there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
There's even a name for it, like they call it Freon, I think it's pronounced now, but you get to, when you realize it's something really different, when it's when you realize it's not just an anomaly, but it's an anomalous phenomenon, when you realize that your whole body reacts. Yeah. And but you can train yourself to do that. And that's why I've been really urging that type of thing, especially in today's environment, to really look at education where adults as well as younger students can start being able to discriminate these different levels of nuances in things. That's how you can tell if it's a UAP or swamp gas.
I was gonna just add in there that your experience, but I guess was it like a? I know you said you weren't really into the UFO at that point though, but after that happened, and you look back on it, what kind of valuable data did you gain directly as a scientist? I'm watching it and then looking back at it.
Yeah, I mean, I logged everything. In fact, I didn't realize, because I wrote everything down because at that time still I was a field investigator for the PASA group. Even though I didn't do a lot of that, I knew how to do that. Plus, since I was doing research for Penn State.
Yeah.
So and some of the research was confidential research about certain things. So I knew how to do that, and write it down on how to document it and how to keep it secret. So I had experience doing that, which you really have to have today. I mean, the things that are going on today are just amazing. But I did have that kind of experience and have that kind of, I studied courses on advanced research. And my doctoral degree, I was the first doctoral student to use something known as a multivariate analysis of variance to analyze my data. So I was doing the stuff as a musician I should have never been doing, but it fascinated me so much that I was into this stuff, and I was just,
the reason why I brought that up is because nothing teaches you like a first-hand experience. I mean, we could talk about UFOs all day and what others have seen, but until you see it, we've had lots of people that have had a lifelong interest in UFOs, and they've talked about it, but then they have that moment of actually seeing one, and that's really, it starts to connect those dots in their minds, and because they have that experience, they're able to look at it with a different lens.
Yes,
because
you see exactly
there.
That's exactly what's happened, and I just happened to be at the right places at the right time. And when I had an opportunity to take advantage of something that I thought would hook me up with learning more about those kind of experiences, I took it.
So let me bottom line this, bring it kind of to a 6th grade level. So you're saying that when a person experiences like a shocking paradigm change, it can cause brain growth.
Yes. It's got to be, again, this is what my research and others people's research is showing, because it's got to be a very stimulating type of brain growth, because your mind is it's called, technically there's a word for it called neuroaesthetics. Your mind is reshaping itself. It's regrowing in a different way than it was before.
Gotcha.
So would a Bigfoot sighting, or somebody has a really traumatic Bigfoot sighting, somebody who doesn't believe in anything but baseball and, apple pie and everything's normal, and then all of a sudden they see this 8-foot ape in the woods staring at them, and is that the same kind of a thing that would happen to, somebody would be a paradigm shift?
Yeah, that's really a good question, and yes, and again, I'm going with my research, and also there are other people that are researching a similar field, like neuroaesthetics, the brain growth caused by having experiences with stimulating objects and events.
Okay.
So even now, if you'd have to have a certain amount of training that would go on to make you realize that you're seeing a Bigfoot and not a gorilla. So and that's this is exactly what I've been working on since 2013. I've been working on a whole educational program that I refer to as interdisciplinary UAP education. And it gets it exactly that. In other words, you're taking people and you're showing them how to grow their brains so that they will take instances like close encounters with UAP and turn them into something positive for themselves. There's some research now that's showing that there is a health and wellness benefit to these kind of experiences. And this is what I totally believe it, and I've seen enough, and I've talked with enough like psychologists who are up there, like, at Harvard and so forth, where I have been working on independent research projects that's starting to turn out results on certain things. But yes, I mean, what you're saying is exactly right. And the times that we're in right now, with how it looks like we're heading towards a whole sea change of how we look at UAPs, this is perfect for people learning about how they can use these kind of experiences. Now, these experiences, they could be anything. It seems like the human brain has built in an evaluation type system, that anything that it experiences, it evaluates.
Yeah.
And so you could take, you could grow the brain through aesthetic experiences with the arts like music or theater, dance, and you could also experience it through non-arts objects and events such as UFOs, animals that you've never seen before, and those type of things. And there's a lot of possibility in that.
Well, it's always been my philosophy, and I've always done it with my own kids, to instill a sense of mystery in them. I was thinking that's, healthy and stimulating. Don't tell them monsters aren't real.
Yeah.
Let them figure it out. Say, man, we don't know a lot. I mean, there's jillions of mysteries.
And plus, you can't have science without curiosity. I mean, that's how science comes about. And without evidence, there is no science. So that's all tied together. Curiosity is extremely important.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, when you saw your thing, what would you say it boosted your curiosity level to?
Well, I mean, I really wasn't interested in UFOs until after that happened.
Yeah.
Because I was back in 1985, around that time, I was writing a children's musical about UFOs, and that's how I originally got into the whole study of UFOs. Because I had at one time I'd written a children's musical, and it was very popular, and this time I wanted to write a children's musical. And I wanted to write it about UFOs because that's when movies like Star Wars and all those movies that had, UFOs and so forth in them were getting popular. And I wanted to write, my musical about real UFO sightings that occurred in Pennsylvania, since I was living in Pennsylvania at that time. So that's originally why I joined the Pennsylvania Association for the Study of the Unexplained, was to just get information on UFO sightings that, genuine UFO sightings that occurred in Pennsylvania, and that I was going to base my musical on that. But then after that, the thing happened in 1989 and so forth, I got so into just studying UFOs that I forgot about the musical.
Your eyes got wide open to what else is going on. I mean, you had a glimpse,
And then I started running into other people who were, top-notch psychologists in Harvard, and they had a whole category of people like myself who were interested in those type of things. And then I started doing an independent research. There was a Dr. Howard Gardner. He was a psychologist from Harvard and worked at Harvard Project Zero. And I was introduced to his work in around 1992 because I was working in Washington, D.C. at that time on a project. And I was introduced by someone else that worked at Harvard to Dr. Gardner's work on what he called multiple intelligences theory.
Yeah.
Where he said some people have an intelligence, for mathematics, some have an intelligence for movement, people have an intelligence based on music and so forth. And he was, in 1999, he was working on something called existential intelligence. Mm-hmm. And people that had a very robust existential intelligence, those were the people that were interested in, is there life beyond death? Is there life on other planets? And they were also interested in having aesthetic experiences.
Yeah.
So I contacted him one day in 2013, and I said, I want to do an independent research study. And he said, okay, here's some ideas. So I started doing an independent research study on that, back in 2013. But it just fascinated me that there are people that their brain is kind of wired so they like these things more.
What did the people around you think that once you had your experience and you told them about it and the drastic change in this interest? I mean, forget about the musical part of the UFO, but really interested in the UFO. Was it hard to convince people? I mean, what was their reactions rather to your change in your interest?
Well, some of them, of course, looked down on me because of that. But because I already had a reputation and a doctorate degree. I mean, all this started happening after my doctorate. I got my doctorate in 84, and all this interest came after my doctorate. So, and my doctorate, was from Penn State. It wasn't from it was a brick and mortar type of university and so forth. So they kind of realized, that I was on to something. Mm-hmm. And now that's what's kind of exciting about the times right now is what I'm starting to see is, wow, we're coming back to those times where they actually want people who might be considered academics to start researching these things.
Yeah.
Didn't the Pentagon just start a new group? And what's it called here? I made note. Called... Hold on here.
Yeah.
The Airborne Object
Yes.
Identification and Management Synchronization Group. What in the world is that?
Well, that's a brand new group. And this is what I'm talking about. There's so much stuff that's going on right now. I'm just loving it. It's exactly what I've been working on, since 1989. And luckily, I've been saving all my research. And luckily, I have the credentials, because I have taught at the university level, and I have done research. My doctoral degree did win awards for the research it did. So it's not like, I just printed out my own degree and read a manual and that was it. So that's, and there's handfuls of these people out there that I know of that are at, universities like Ohio State and whatever. And we keep in contact, now not close contact, but there are people out there who are interested in this, and they're going to need to start surfacing because there's some very, very interesting stuff going on out there. But I because of my background, I can get away with more than some other people can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because your credentials. Yeah. Yep.
Well, it's been that way for a while.
Bob, can you tell us what this Airborne Object Identification and Management? See, the word I don't get is the synchronization group. What in the world are they doing?
Okay, now again, this group just was announced.
Okay, so it's new.
And it's brand new, but what it is that I'm giving you my opinion, okay, from it. And there's some things going on right now that I'm really, really interested in and about. Mm-hmm. And that's started happening. I'm doing all this from memory right now. But the first event, there were like 3 events that happened. The first event was back in June of 2021. That's when the report was released on UAPs.
Right.
The report from the Pentagon.
Yep.
That 9-page report. So that happened on June 25th, 2021. Then on July 26th, 2021, was when Harvard University and Ivy Loeb announced that, excuse me, they were starting up the Galileo project. And based on like the one book that he had written on the one Oumuamua object that he had come into contact with. And he's got credentials, okay? So obviously he's got some pretty good credentials. And what I found interesting, I'm sorry if I'm going off a little bit, but what I found interesting when he made that announcement on a podcast back in July of was July 26, 2021, his co-director, I think his name was Frank, and I can't think of his last name right now. And his co-director was there present at this podcast, and he said, wouldn't it be interesting if the whole Galileo project at Harvard found out that there was other laws of physics out there? Essentially, that's what he said in a nutshell. And I'm going, oh my, because I had a situation that happened in 2006 that led me to the same idea. I'm thinking, man, if that's the case, we're into something big here. So then on September 4th of...
Everyone wants a good health plan. UCare offers a variety of affordable plans for individuals and families at some of the lowest costs in the state. It's no wonder they're the #1 plan on MNsure the last 5 years. See if you qualify for a subsidy today at mnsure.org.
What's it like to build with C&M Home Builders?
I thought, there's no way this is our house. The whole entire process was so easy. In the beginning of the process, they gave us a sheet that said when all of our meetings would be, how long each meeting would be, so we could plan out the whole entire thing. We made sure to put all of our meetings over the winter, so they were accommodating with that too, because his schedule was more flexible for that.
I would say just looking at pictures of stuff and having the ideas and then actually walking in and seeing it all put together makes it all worthwhile.
Visit candmhomebuilders.com.
2021. This is all within a couple of months. Penn State. And I'm a graduate of Penn State. That's my alma mater. I got a letter from them saying that they're starting a research group. They're starting a consortium of 30 different I think there were 30 different universities that are going to start researching the same thing. Mm-hmm. So here's these things that are moving on this. They must know something that's out there that they think they're going to find. Because my experience is that UFOs are something very, very complex. They're not just simple. They're very complex entities.
Sure.
So now all of this is going on, and then just one thing after another. There's been announcements that have slipped out. Even just, I think it was November 21st. And there was, have you heard the name Lou Elizondo?
Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. He was in a podcast, and he was talking about how, they're starting to realize that you can be an investigator like, someone that's a field investigator on UFOs, or someone that's an investigative researcher. You can be an investigator and you can, do some work on UFOs. But they're saying now they're thinking as you have to be somebody in academia.
Yeah.
And a scientist to really solve the problem of what UFOs really are. And that's the first time I've ever heard somebody who was from the UFO community, shall we say, make that statement. And that's going to me, and again, these little things catch in my mind. That's going to cause an entire sea change in how people, the public, thinks and learns about UAP. I mean, what's happening right now is just wild.
Will there be funding, do you think, for UFO studies?
I think, yes, there are. Like now, and again, I hope I'm not telling tales out of school or whatever.
Sure.
But I think that Harvard. And again, I've been volunteering my time for the Galileo project at Harvard, but I'm not permitted to talk about what I'm doing. Okay. I am allowed to say that I do have permission to say that I am volunteering my time and working for the Galileo project, but that's as far as I can say.
And the Galileo project is headed by Avi Loeb?
Yes. Okay. There's another man, and I can't. I'll have to look through my notes, but his first name is Frank, and I can check that out later.
Avi Loeb is beyond intelligent and courageous.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I've documented everything from the time when they put out they notified me that they were looking for people to volunteer and work on the Galileo project, and what I sent them and so forth, and then how I got accepted, because they're going to need people. But I think at one point the Galileo project at first had around, I think it was $1 million donated to them. Now that's again, that's from the top of my head right now. I do have all the notes, but I don't have them in front of me right now. I can look for them. But and then with the Penn State project, their donations are up to something like $7 million.
Could you imagine, Bob, if companies like Facebook and Amazon just said, "Hey, we want answers. Let's give you guys billions."
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be amazing? That could happen, I guess.
It's the only thing I am concerned about is that I've worked with a lot of these people, and I've worked with people that I would say would belong to groups that I would put under the classification of non-governmental, non-profit UFO study groups.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do they hope to do with all this, Bob? What do they hope to do with all this information at the end of the day?
You mean the study groups?
Yeah, is this all leading disclosure? I mean, what do they hope once it's all collected?
That's what scares the daylights out of me, because I've had let's just say that I've crossed swords with some of the people in those research organizations, and I don't know. They just like Lou Elizondo said the other day. I think it was on the 21st of November. That date sticks in my mind. You're going to have to start to have people who are academics to some extent as part of this. No longer can just investigators. You can have investigators, but they're not going to solve the problem. You've got to start bringing people on board who who are academics, who are real scientists that can help solve the problem.
Sure.
That's going to be the key. I've seen too many people, like, for example, in MUFON and SCU, I've had some experiences that are not good experiences, And I'd hate to see that continue. They're going to have to reform those kind of groups and rethink them if they really want to be useful to solving the whole UAP program.
Do you think this Oumuamua had a greater effect on science of UFOs more than we all think?
Yes. Now, what's kind of nice is that it's causing some discussion, even among the scientists from Harvard and other places. Okay, you need that kind of discussion. You can't have, and you need science. You need evidence, and you've got to have that kind of discussion going on without people doing something harmful to another person. See, and that's what I'm finding out is some of these, and I just refer to them as non-governmental, non-profit UFO study groups. Some of them, and I'll be quite honest with you, they're good old boy networks. And if you have somebody that, like, let's say if you had an Avi Loeb in there that actually had a different way of thinking, he would be, just run out of town, I think. Yeah. And that's a shame because, I've seen 6 UAPs in my lifetime, and I know there's something out there. And a lot of people know there's something out there. They just don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Isn't that the
what do they
question,
want?
though?
And
yeah.
What are they doing? And, blah, blah, blah. How many are there? And,
yeah. See, I mean, it's easy for a group to say, oh, there were 20 UAPs cited in 2022. That takes nothing. But if it's different, it's more difficult, and it takes more of an education, more of a background to say, okay, here we have evidence that it might be coming from this part of the universe. And according to the Drake equation, there ought to be statistically this many, planets out there that are inhabitable. And we're right now at the cusp of, if this goes right, if somebody doesn't sell out to these, nonprofit groups, we should find out within, I'd say, 2 to 3 years, there should be enough data gathered out there to start really figuring out what's out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, and do you expect any help from the government, Bob? I mean, are they interested is what I mean? Are they kind of at least expressing some interest to what you guys are doing?
Okay, my experience it depends on the government. I could give you a brief example. When I was working with the Department of the Interior back in 2006, that might put it more in perspective. But they, depending on where they're coming from, I think they want. Again, I don't know this for sure because this is all pretty new. I think they want to do what's correct. I really do. But I see more of a challenge from these nonprofit UFO study groups of wielding their influence in ways that they shouldn't. That's where I see a big problem. Now, what's another thing that I just found that's interesting, I'll throw out there. When I was doing research in 2019, my research indicated that about 54% of people in the United States of America believed that UFOs were real. Okay, that they were. Now, since this thing happened, since they released that report in 2021, there was another survey put out in 2021, just 2 years later. Now, 65% of the people in the United States essentially believe that UFOs are real. So that's a big jump. And the people now that are coming on board from the evidence they've seen, You know, and Avi Loeb's putting things out there. I'm putting things out there. Other people are. They're going to need to. How are you going to educate people?
Yeah.
About what the real UFO phenomenon. And it's just, to me, it's amazing what can be happening out there.
Yeah, yeah. That would be a huge challenge, though, when you think about it. Never thought about it in that end. How do you educate the people? You know what I mean?
See, yeah, that's why I've been that's what I've been working on, because I do have what I call an interdisciplinary. It's called interdisciplinary UAP education.
Okay.
And it addresses everything we've been talking about, and I've been putting it together since 2013. Because in 2013 I was living in Texas, right on the Mexican border, and I was teaching at a college down there and doing some other things. And I was asked to do you mind if I tell you this quick story?
No, please do.
I was asked to give a presentation. This was 2013. I was asked to give a presentation at the San Antonio. It was a San Antonio's Astronomical Association's Education Outreach Conference. Okay. So it was an outreach conference that was put together by the San Antonio, Texas Astronomical Association. Now, they asked me to do a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, but they didn't want the PowerPoint presentation done about astronomical studies. They wanted me to do a presentation, an hour-long presentation on UFOs.
Okay.
They didn't want it to be about meteors or whatever. So I agreed to do it. They said, we want a PowerPoint presentation that's an hour long. We want you to do it twice, so you'd have to do it twice. And I said, I agreed to put an educational program together. And I titled the presentation "Using Science to Explore the Unknown." Yeah. So it was a PowerPoint presentation about science education, because it was called Amazing Skies. It was a science outreach program to try to attract people into careers in science. Okay. And at this conference, it was at this huge convention center in Pharr, Pharr, Texas, a brand new convention center, and it was huge. And they had astronauts there. They had people from NASA there. They had people from the National Science Foundation there. They had the people there from the astronomical associations. And they had children there. And they had elementary school kids there. They had secondary school kids. They had, everybody was there. They had people from museums. And this whole thing was set up to try to get people interested in science. And they asked me to do a PowerPoint presentation on UFOs. They wanted me to do two of them. So after my first presentation, they found out that my presentation on UFOs was gaining more of a crowd than anybody. They gave me like an area to do the presentation, and they had about, I'd say, 50 to 75 seats, and they only gave me a guitar amplifier and a microphone for a sound system. But mine was drawing standing room only crowds after the first presentation. So they brought the people that organized the whole conference over, and they said, okay, we know we asked you to do two. Would you mind doing three? So the third one we're going to do, for the National Science Foundation and those people to see how powerful a tool UAPs are. So, I did the third one, but that presentation, and I did it as an educational presentation, was proof to everybody that UFOs are vehicles for educating people about science.
Sure, it opens the interest. Yeah, you start the UFOs and you move into the sciences. Yeah.
What's it like to build your dream home with C&M Home Builders?
We knew that we were just building to get out of renting, and we knew that we were going to build again.
We talked to C&M real estate side of it and see what the market was at and everything, and we decided to go forward and build another house with C&M.
We didn't think it would be just 2 short years later, but it's just the way it happened, and we're so thankful. The market got good and we sold our Harrison and made a good profit, and we're able to build this house. It made everything so stress-free.
See what they can do for you at candmhomebuilders.com.
Everyone wants a good health plan. UCare offers a variety of affordable plans for individuals and families at some of the lowest costs in the state. It's no wonder they're the #1 plan on MNsure the last 5 years. See if you qualify for a subsidy today at mnsure.org.
The astronauts were coming to my presentation, that I had just thrown together. I'm thinking, but I did it in a way that was teaching science and how people can tell the difference between a genuine UFO and something that they've just misread.
That makes a lot of sense, Bob.
And that's from that point on, that's when I hooked up again with Dr. Howard Gardner again and got some ideas, and then started doing some research on my own. And I actually started developing what would be considered content standards and a curriculum about UAP education. And luckily, I did that thing for a living. I did it on the national level when I was working for the government, and I've done it at state levels, and I've done it at local levels.
Oh, that's cool. Right, Doug?
What is the biggest thing that you can, share with our audience that would get their light bulb to go off on UAPs being real? I mean, being not only real, but from another planet.
Well, I think there's a few things, and that is, if they would look at it, and again, this is just my opinion, if they'd look at it from a statistics point of view and look at the Drake equation, you'd find out that even in our own Milky Way galaxy, there are, and again, I'm just using this figure, I forget what it is offhand, but there are at least millions of stars out there that have planets that are in habitable zones, just like Earth would be. And the more information we gather about those planets that are out there, the more we'll be likely to determine where those planets are and what kind of life might be on those planets. And we're gathering that kind of information out there. And that will be the biggest thing that would get people to start really believing.
Are they still discovering, just vast amounts of planets that are in the Goldilocks zone?
Yes.
Because I remember at one point it was in the news like every day.
Yeah.
They discovered this, and all of a sudden, lately, it's been totally silent.
Well,
it's mainstream.
It's because it's becoming so common. I forget. It's regularly they're finding these planets all the time now. And now the situation is that, the Earth itself, when it was evolving, even though it had life on it at times, that life was knocked out, by a meteor or something caused the whole thing to be done away with. The life was lost, but then something happened where life started up again. Yeah. So there could be a lot of planets out there that take that same procedure. Now, something that's going to be really interesting is if on Mars now, if they happen to find, they already know that there was water on Mars. So now if they can dig down there and deeper and find out if that water had any kind of bacteria in it, that would be proof that, life could exist on other planets. But the thing is, and to keep in mind, the universe keeps expanding. And there could easily be a planet out there in a Goldilocks zone that has some kind of life on it. And it could have even intelligent life to the point where it might be able to send a deep space explorer vehicle to us if they found out, we existed.
Yeah.
But by the time, even if that alien deep space explorer device was moving at the speed of light, okay, it might never get to us before our sun burns out.
Gotcha.
So in other words,
yeah,
it could be so far away, and that's just one instance that life on another planet could be so far away that we'd never know it.
Well, that's that's the argument against us being visited by God knows how many species.
Right.
Correct? I mean, that's the argument.
Yeah, that's the whole it's called the Fermi something or other.
And but isn't by, like what Avi Loeb says, completely reinventing the laws of physics could then explain why we're being visited, correct?
Yeah.
Well, explaining the laws of physics, let's say if there was it wasn't Avi that said that, it was his co-director. He said, wouldn't it be great if we would find out that there were other, laws of physics out there?
Yep.
I don't really think that the Galileo project wants to look for other laws of physics. I mean, that's going to be tough enough just looking for life out there. But the whole idea is that if there are other laws of physics out there, then we have no idea what life would look like.
Right.
Because we're basing everything on what we know based on our laws of physics.
Yeah.
And already, if even on Mars, just because the atmosphere is different on Mars than it is on Earth, sounds are going to sound differently. So you're going to have even our close, the closest planet to us, I think Mars is the closest planet. You're going to have people, when astronauts get there, they're going to experience things that they're not going to be able to handle just because it's a little different environment. And they still could be using the same laws of physics that we are using.
Sure. It makes perfect sense.
I mentioned earlier a little bit about in 2006 when I worked for the Department of the Interior. And I'll try to make this very brief. But the Department of the Interior, I was working for them to turn on the Navajo Nation. It was my job to turn around the whole educational system on the Navajo Nation. They wanted to turn it into an educational system that was based on the Navajo language and Navajo culture instead of on the Western European cultures and the cultures of the United States. That was my job. So, like, I had to know,
no
federal
pressure there,
laws. Bob. No, not at all. I was there for 3 years. Quite an experience. But part of my job, speaking of pressure, so anyhow, turning that whole education system around was a major deal. But one day, and this was in 2006, and I worked up there from 2005 to 2007. In 2006, in my office, I lived in a little place called Borrego Pass, New Mexico. And it was on what's known as the Eastern Navajo Agency. And it was basically in a desolate area in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico. And one day I got a phone call, and I knew it was going to be a good day because the phones were working. So the person on the other end of the phone was David Axelrod, the same David Axelrod that currently works for CNN, I believe.
Okay.
And again, I'm shrinking this whole story down pretty quickly, but he had told me that I was required to attend a summit meeting at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. And that's all he would tell me. And he said, by the way, you've got to bring 2 of your best and your brightest Navajo teachers with you. They had to be 2 teachers, but they had to be Navajo teachers. Like, I'm not Navajo, so, I didn't qualify. So I had to bring 2 of my best and brightest Navajo teachers. He said the whole event was going to be, the tab was going to be picked up by the federal government. That's all he would say. Wouldn't tell me anything else other than I had to be there. So basically, the day we were supposed to be down there, I think it was set for a 3-day summit meeting. We drove out to the Albuquerque airport and flew down to Houston. And at Houston, a chartered bus met us and took us to a hotel. And when we got to this hotel, I found out that all the other people that were staying there, all of them were going to this same 3-day summit meeting at the Johnson Space Center. And nobody knew what they were there for. And everybody was either a Native American from some other tribe, like, the Cherokee or whatever, the Ute tribe or whatever. There were several different tribes represented there.
Yeah.
So either you belonged to a tribe or you were representing a tribe. And I'd say there were probably maybe 30 people there. And none of us knew why we were there. So
Jeez.
The next morning, it was our first day of the summit meeting. So the next morning it rained really hard there in Houston and everything was flooded. In the parking lot of our hotel, there was water up to the windows. So we had to wait for the water to go down, and then a charter bus showed up from the Johnson Space Center, and there was a man who worked at Johnson Space Center in the bus. Okay, so we all got in the bus, and they start driving us out to the Johnson Space Center. And I asked them, because it was my job to keep an eye out for the Navajos. I said, why are we going to this meeting? And he said, you'll find out when you get there. So, we get there and we go to the gate, and a man comes out who was working at the gate at the Johnson Space Center. And he says, sorry, we're closed until 1 o'clock. And I'm thinking, what? I said, this is only like now 8 o'clock in the morning or something. And I thought it was because they were flooded up. And he said, no, we're closed to the public because there's some very special people. They want to close down the whole Space Center and so that these people have the Space Center themselves. And the man that was on the bus representing the Space Center said, that's us. And this guy said, oh, all right. So they let us into the Space Center. So anyhow, we go into this room, and there's it's like I said, 20 or 30 of us. We go into this big room, meeting room. We sit down, and pretty soon people from NASA start coming in. And we still don't know why we're there. So basically, they start telling us a little bit something called the ARES program. And it stood for Aerospace. It was a research and it was materials project. It was called the ARES project. And so what we were doing was learning about this. It was the ARES initiative, ARES.
Yeah.
And what they were going to do, basically, NASA was going to, they told us NASA was going to fly from the Earth to the moon, and then from the moon to Mars, and they were going to mine Mars. And they were, and this is the first time I had ever heard of anything like that. And none of us had. So we were all talking to each other, saying, what are we doing here? What do we have to do with this? So eventually, they took us and showed us certain things. They showed us that glider and so forth that was going to survey Mars and whatever. And we still didn't know why we were there. So then they took us to the control center at Johnson Space Center. So that's where they have all the computers and the modules and stuff. And it's behind this big glass window. Or wall, actually. So they took us into that place, and they showed us how busy it was because the space station was still up there. And then they took us to this like peanut gallery that was behind that room. And it was a nice peanut gallery. They had nice chairs and seats like that you would at a movie theater, but it was walled off from the control center. And that's when they brought out some other scientists from NASA, and they had this little cart, and that's when NASA told us there had been 6 space shuttle missions that were top secret, that nobody knew what they were about.
And very cool.
So I thought that, I thought I saw every space shuttle mission on television, and they said no. And they had these little plaques on a cart, on a wheeled cart, and there were about 6 of these plaques, and they said each one of these plaques represent a top secret space shuttle mission that no one knew about.
Wow,
and that's,
Bob. Wow.
And that's essentially all they told us.
Crazy stuff, Bob.
And
I hate... Yeah, I was going to say, all these black ops that were going on, and here you are being privy to it. Wow, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah,
well,
and
hang on a second, Joel, because we can actually go over a bit.
Okay, but anyhow, they basically wanted the Native Americans there to say that they could get the astronauts to think differently about things. And that's what it was, because they said they knew that they were going to run into things on Mars that psychologically they would not be able to handle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Weird. So that was the Navajo connection.
Yes.
Jeez.
And actually, Native American connection. I had to nominate the best and the brightest Navajos for that Aries program.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's something else, Bob. That is something else. We're getting out of time here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I took so much
time. That's all right. And boy, did that ever fly right by. If you could tell the audience your websites and stuff like that, that'd be great.
Well, currently I do have a website. It's like where I have some of my white paper reports, and it's titled. The address is www.bobwenzelgross.com.
Very
and it's
cool.
titled In Pursuit of Anomalies.
And how can people get a hold of you, Bob?
Through that website would be the easiest, because there's ways to contact me on that website.
Okay. Awesome. Boy, like I said, it just went right by, didn't it, Doug?
Yeah, I'm sorry I took up, but that was great.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's what we like, right, Doug? I mean, it really went by.
We'll have you on again, Bob.
Well,
yeah, for sure.
You. Sorry about the problem with the phone at the beginning.
No worries at all. No worries. Till next time, guys. This is Joel over here, and that's Doug over there. We're signing off. Take care of each other, love each other, and keep your eyes to the skies. It's all out there. It really is. Till next time.
Everyone wants a good health plan. UCare offers a variety of affordable plans for individuals and families at some of the lowest costs in the state. It's no wonder they're the #1 plan on MNsure the last 5 years. See if you qualify for a subsidy today at mnsure.org.
What's it like to build with C&M Home Builders?
When we built our first house, we had absolutely no idea what we wanted in a house. It was challenging, but C&M made the process super easy.
Our project manager, he was very, very good communicating with us and talking to us about stuff that may pop up or stuff we got to come look at and things like that.
I recommend it to all of our friends to build because it is so fun and you just get to pick out everything. So C&M just makes it so easy to do.
Visit candmhomebuilders.com.